Could you imagine not having anything to eat or drink, nothing by mouth, for 35 days? Well, I've got something to share with you today. Stay tuned. Hi, and welcome to my channel, and thank you for being here today. This is an update on Ken, my brother-in-law, who had a terrible accident on June 21st. Now, if you're new here, I know you don't know what I'm talking about, and I don't want to repeat everything for those of you who have followed along on this journey. So the other update videos and the date of the accident video and everything, I will link below in a playlist if you want to start at the beginning. So anyhow, Ken went in the hospital in ICU in the trauma ward. He went in on June 21st and he got out on July 19th. So he was in that ICU Savannah Memorial Trauma Center for almost 30 days. I think it was 29 days. He finally made it to Encompass, the rehabilitation hospital. He got there on Friday the 19th of July, about 6:45 that night, and we were absolutely thrilled that he finally got out of that hospital. Now, there were a few delays. We were hoping he would get out like maybe the 15th of July, but different things just kept happening. His lung filled up with fluid, so they had to put a chest tube in, and he couldn't go. He couldn't leave the ICU hospital with the chest tube in, and just different problems that kept happening. But on the 19th, they took that chest tube out, and he was able to go to Encompass. Now, it was a rough start, of course, because you got to remember he had been laying in a bed, even tied down because he kept ripping all his tubes out. So he was stuck in a bed with his arms tied down for a very, very long time, over a month. And so when he got to Encompass, he wasn't in great shape, but he was out of danger. He was ready to leave critical care. So that's what was important. Now, the purpose of Encompass Rehab Hospital is to get you on your feet and back to life, to help you rehabilitate everything so that you can live a normal life. And they are strict. It's 5-star rated, and they mean business, and they start right away. So they came in on July 20th, the therapist. I mean, that was the first day he was there. He had got there the night before. And she's like, okay, we're going to physical therapy. And Ken was really upset because he thought, I can't even stand up. I haven't moved in over a month. I can't do physical therapy. They Two people got on each side to get him out of the bed and into the wheelchair. His legs just shook like this and just buckled. He had no strength. And who would, after laying for that long and your muscles atrophy and you've had no food, no drink, nothing in your mouth for all that time? He's incredibly weak. He was very nervous and upset about going to PT, but they made him go. He was so nervous he was shaking all over, and I don't blame him. I mean, if someone told me, you're going to the gym after you just got out of ICU for over 30 days, I think I'd kind of freak out myself. But they start slow, but they know what they're doing. And they know they have to push these people to get back on their feet. So he started with that. He has speech therapy to learn to swallow every day. He has PT, physical therapy, every day, occupational therapy every day, and they teach him simple things like how to uh, wheel yourself over in a wheelchair to the sink, to brush your teeth, or to comb your hair. And of course, in the first few days, you don't have the strength to even hold a comb up to your head. But you will because they push you and you'll get that strength back. So those first 4 days were really rough for Ken, having over 3 hours of intense therapy every day. He was exhausted. He's still very weak, still very confused. And then on the 23rd of July, he had a turnaround. I mean, a big turnaround. You can call it a coincidence. I don't, but I'm going to tell you. On the 23rd, after he got back from one of his therapies, we asked if we could take him outside. They have a real pretty gazebo and pretty grounds, that the patients can go out. So they put him in the wheelchair and we were allowed to take him outside. That's the first time he had seen daylight, been outside, the sun shining, a blue sky, flowers, anything. And I mean, he was overjoyed. He just put his hands up and said, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. This feels so good. This is wonderful." He didn't have enough words to explain how it felt. How it felt to feel the warmth of the sun on his skin, how it felt to breathe fresh air because they took the oxygen off of him so that we could take him outside. He was on a real low dose of oxygen anyhow, so they knew it wouldn't hurt. So he took big, deep breaths of air and exhaled them, and he just looked up to the sun and just kind of laid out in the wheelchair and soaked it all up. And that was like it was a turning point. So the reason I say you may call this a coincidence, but I sure don't, is because I've mentioned many times on my channel that my ma believed that sunshine and fresh air was God's free medicine. My ma didn't doctor, didn't take medications, didn't take pills, didn't take aspirin, didn't take anything. The sunshine and fresh air could cure anything. She believed that, and thank the good Lord, she was healthy and lived to be 96 years old. That experience of being outside for Ken just uplifted him so much. He was smiling, he felt good, he was looking forward to going back to therapy. He wanted to do everything they asked him to do and then some. He wanted to learn to stand and use a walker and all kind of things. I mean, he was like full steam ahead. Also on that same day, the 23rd, the speech language pathologist brought him in a yogurt. So she was going to try to feed him a little bit of yogurt to see if he could swallow it. Now, he had had many swallow tests in the ICU, but he failed every one. He never passed. That's why he didn't have anything to eat or drink for 35 days. Well, she tried him with the yogurt, and he did fine. I mean, she just put a little bit on the end of a spoon and touched it to his lips, but he swallowed. He didn't choke, cough, anything. Now he has to do a double swallow, chin to chest, and swallow once like a big loud gulp, and then swallow twice. So after each bite, he has to swallow twice and swallow hard, like really work the muscles through here. So he had yogurt and he did fine. The next day, the same thing. He got yogurt. And each day, we're taking him outside a couple times a day to spend in the sun. And so then she, the speech uh, pathologist, decided it was time to give him a test and order a barium swallow test. So they transported him to Coastal Carolina Hospital on the 26th to have this swallow test. Now, when he was swallowing in the hospital or tried to swallow, it was going to his lungs, not down his esophagus. And of course, that can cause pneumonia, infection. It can be fatal. That's why he didn't have anything for all that time. So the esophagus is like here, and then your lungs are on each side. Well, the food kept going towards the lung. But during that swallow test on the 26th of July, it went down the right tube and he passed the test. They tried him on a few different textures of things, like maybe some pudding or, again, yogurt, just a few things, and he did great. So he was now allowed to actually have something to eat and drink for the first time in 35 days. That night of the 26th of July, he had his first meal, his first dinner tray. And he ate every single thing on the plate and on the tray. He had like a pudding, but again, he's on a level 5 diet, they call it, which is M&M, minced and moist. So he can eat as long as everything is minced, kind of like minced garlic, and very moist. So, for example, pudding, he could have some pudding, but it's real watered down. It's very liquidy. And he's done fantastic. He's had some vegetables, like I think it was zucchini and something else, chopped up very fine. It was bigger than I thought it would be. I thought it would be like mush. But I mean, you could see the pieces of zucchini, and they were cooked and they were in like a water sauce or something. But he was able to eat it. And then what else did he have that first night? I think it was some kind of, well, I say lasagna, but it was like cheese and maybe a little bit of meat, but very finely chopped up and again, kind of floating in water. But he loved it. And since then, he's been getting breakfast, lunch, and dinner tray each day. Now, once he gets to a certain level, and hopefully he will be able to move up to level 6, which will be a little bit more texture in the food. And then level 7 is when you can eat anything and everything. So he's really excited about that. And Dave is looking at recipes and things to see what to make him when he gets out of Encompass so that everything will be minced and moist and very fine little pieces. He has his therapy every day, all 3 therapies, 3 hours or more of therapy We take him out in a wheelchair every day, and just in the last 2 days, he was allowed to walk on a stand-up walker where it's got the place to rest your arms in the hallway with the belt on, and the nurse was there. But I mean, he was going like a speed demon to me. He wasn't just slowly crawling along. He was walking at a pretty good clip.
This, we just got to get you eating normally, and then you're not going to need to be here anymore. Look at this guy.
I mean, it's amazing how far he has come, and that turnaround that changed everything. It's just, there just aren't any words for it. And the best news of all, his target discharge date is August 1st. That is this Thursday. Can you believe that? Most people that go to Encompass, it's normally a 2-week stay on average. Some people get out in a week. Some people were there 3 or 4 weeks. It just depends on your injuries, your age, your level of trauma that you've had, and how much time it's going to take to at least get you on your feet to where you can function. Well, Ken, coming out this Thursday, that is 1 day shy of 2 weeks. We are absolutely thrilled. He is thrilled. He will come to our house. He will stay with us. We'll continue therapy here at the house. And then when I feel that he is safe enough and well enough to go to his own home, which is only 5 doors down the road, then he'll be able to go back home. But for now, he's going to stay here and be watched and helped and continue in therapy to build up his muscles, to build up his strength, to swallow even better, to build up what he can eat and things like that. But he's like a different person. And I just have to thank God for the miracles this guy has had. I mean, it's just nobody should have this many miracles. I mean, honestly, I think he has 9 lives or more. But I want to thank you all for your prayers, for your thoughts, for your kind words about Ken. Those of you that have been with me and have followed along this journey, you've been a part of this journey. You know the updates because I've done a couple, and you have prayed for Ken. You have told me he's in your prayers, and I know he is. And I want you to know that those prayers were answered. God heard all of your prayers, and you are a big part of why Ken is getting well. He's going to make it. He's going to get strong, and he'll be home next Thursday. It's because of the grace of God. It's because of you all and your dedicated prayers for Ken. And I just can't thank you enough. And when Ken gets here and he's feeling a little better, I'm going to get him to do a video with me so that he can personally thank each and every one of you for all of your prayers for him. Well, that's my wonderful update. We are thrilled. And now I'm going to leave you with an inside beauty tip. My inside beauty tip today comes from Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Do you ever wonder why some prayers are answered and you feel that other prayers aren't? Have you ever been ill or had a loved one, a family member that was ill, and you prayed and prayed for that person, prayed for them to be healed, to get better, and they didn't. They didn't get better. They ended up passing away. I hope if you've ever gone through that you don't believe in prayer anymore. Please don't ever let that happen to you. When you pray for healing, God will heal each and every one of us. It may not be on this earth at this time, but when we get to heaven, we will be completely healed. I can't answer the question, why are some prayers answered in that way and why others aren't? I believe all prayers are answered. It may not be the answer that we wanted, but they are answered because God does protect us. He does give us hope, and we do have a future with Him. Even if that future isn't here on earth, we have that future with Him in heaven for all of eternity. All I can tell you is that although Ken has been through so much, a cardiac arrest last October, a severe head injury about 25 years ago, and now this, it's not his time to go. I believe that when we go, when we pass on, it is in God's timing. That date is predetermined. He knows it from before when we're even born. That's the way I believe. You're not going to die a minute sooner or a minute later, a day sooner or a day later. When we are left here, it's because we have not fulfilled our purpose yet and the plan that God has for our lives. So to come out of something like that, you need to come out of it rejoicing, rejoicing to the top of your lungs that God still wants you here. And if a loved one that we have doesn't come out of a situation, like if Ken hadn't made it, I would still rejoice because I would know where he is. I would know he is with our Heavenly Father. I would know without a doubt that it was his time. I would know without a doubt that God called him home, and that's the way he chose for him to go home. I know that's very hard to wrap our brains around and accept it when we so desperately want someone to pull through any situation because we don't want them to leave us. But we have to trust in God's plan. He has one for each and every one of us. We can never second guess it. We can ask why did this happen or why didn't that happen? Just rejoice, give thanks to God, be grateful, and know that He is always with you and He will always love you for eternity. I thank you so much for being here today. I truly do appreciate it. And until we meet again, this is the old girl signing out. See ya.